Hey guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the new Pagani Design PD1784. Before we get into this, I just want to say Happy New Year. First video of 2024. We're starting off with a bang, a new release from Pagani Design. And I just want to say thank you guys for the continued support over the years. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I wouldn't be here without you guys. I wouldn't be able to get my hands on all these watches without you guys. So again, huge thank you to everyone who's ever tuned into the channel. So I received this watch for free from the Pagani Design official store on AliExpress. I don't have to send the watch back. That's not going to sway my review one way or the other. You're always going to get my honest review on this channel. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, as always, down in the video description there will be an affiliate link. You guys don't pay any extra. I just get a little bit of commission so I can keep the channel running. So anyone that has used those links, I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. The retail price for this watch is $200 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, anything like that. We are currently right at the beginning of the first sale in 2024. I was able to get the price down to $152 after $11 in sales tag, so right around $140 US. So really not a bad price. I know people balked at the $200 price point. We all knew it was going to come down. $140 for a brand new release from Pagani with the NH35. It's not a terrible price, I don't think. I think I would not pay $200 for this watch, but I would, $140 is not a bad price for this thing. The watch comes in this green variant here, with green bezel, and then it also comes in an all blue colorway with white lume. So yeah, two options to pick from for right now, and yeah, I think they both look pretty good. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH34 automatic GMT. So this is one of Pagani's most hyped watches in recent memory. It's been asked for multiple times, and it is finally here. $200, like I said, it's quite a price for Pagani, but thankfully they're almost always on sale. I think right off the bat they were down to $160. Now during this sale they're down to about $140ish or $150. It's definitely a more compelling option, especially if you like the design. No one else has this design yet, so this is a good option for you guys if you like the design. But what exactly are you getting for your hard-earned cash? I say we dig in, find out if it's any good. But before we do, doing a quick wrist check today, wearing the San Martin. I believe this is the SN005. It's a watch that they came out with a very long time ago, which had the Hangzhou 6460. They just updated it, released a couple different dial options as well, and put the NH34 in it. So review for this one will be on the channel very soon. All right, so first things first, we'll always check the dimensions. We've got a diameter of 39.9 millimeters, case thickness of 13.9 millimeters, got 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 47.0 millimeters, sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 3 links removed. It weighs about 141 grams. So I think the size of this thing is pretty good. 40 millimeters, 47 lug tip to lug tip. It wears pretty good. 13.9 millimeters. It's a little bit thicker than I'd like to see. I'm really getting spoiled by some of the options that we're seeing here. I just recently got a watch with an NH35, which is this one here, and it is under 12 millimeters thick. So I think if they could have shaved just shave a millimeter off, and I think it would make it look a whole lot better. So it does look a little slab-sided. You do have a decent turn down to the lugs there. The bracelet itself, it hangs straight down, as you can see there. You do get ever so slight protruding of those end links, so it wears maybe just a tiny bit bigger than 46 or 47 millimeter lug to lug, but really it's not bad at all. I do like the way that it wears, and I like the way that it looks. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, for me, it wears fine. I've got no real complaints about it. Maybe just a little bit chunky, a little bit slab-sided. Other than that, though, it's pretty nice. You got nice polished chamfers on the case and on the bracelet. They all work pretty nicely together, in my opinion. Yeah, the crystal, it's going to be reflective, especially underneath this tree here. This tree always gives watches problems. It's really not that bad in person, but yeah, if it passes this test, you can tell the crystals are really good, but that usually doesn't happen. So these watches are all looking the same under this tree here. But yeah, I think overall the watch does look pretty nice. I think it wears pretty nice as well. You got a nice curve down to the lugs there, so it does hug the wrist pretty nicely. Here we are, out in a little bit different lighting here. Sadly, I don't have any really direct sunlight. There's a little bit of a cloud there poking through, but you can see it does a pretty good job of cutting down reflections, surprisingly. So the crystal on this one is actually halfway decent. I'll give it to Pagani. They did a pretty good job. It does get kind of like a milky hue to it at times, so there's lots of AR on there. But yeah, for the most part, I've got no real major complaints with the crystal on this thing. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go throw this on some straps, and we will get back to this review. And here we are on a dark brown leather strap. I just got this one in. This is a hem suit. Really, really nice strap if you guys are interested. And I think it looks pretty good on that colorway. The green with the brown always goes together, in my opinion. And yeah, I do think that looks nice. And here we are on a black silicone strap, as you can see there. I think it looks pretty good. Not my favorite, but I figured, it's got enough water resistance that you might want to wear this in the water, so threw it on a rubber strap for you. Here we are on a Fulmosa rubber strap. It is right there. Kind of curved end, but not quite fitted perfectly. These are chunky strap. These ones are okay. Not my favorite strap, so. But I think the color match is pretty good on this one. The green on the bezel isn't really showing up that well on camera, but it is a decent match. So yeah, it looks good. And here we are on a nylon strap with 2 layers underneath the watch there. And it's still looking a little tall, but not too bad. As you can see here, it is buttoned down pretty tight, but still works. And I just think this strap kind of makes this watch. I think it just matches perfectly, and it looks really good. What do you guys think? All right, let's go back inside. Let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So case finishing is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. It's your typical Pagani finishing, but I think just a little bit nicer than some of their other ones. Their PD1784, which they released last year, just the normal non-GMT version of this. It was one of my favorite as far as the case finishing goes for Pagani. This one kind of carries that on. You have a circular brushing around the top edge of the lugs there, transitioning nicely with a nice polished chamfer there. I mean, even getting up real close, you can see those transitions are pretty darn sharp. You can't complain about that. Polished on the lug tips there, horizontal brushing on the case sides, and again, nicely done. It's consistent. It is kind of that like a heavier brushing than say a San Martin or a Sea Stern, something like that. I don't mind it at all. I kind of like being able to see the brushing a little bit better. So yeah, it's a personal preference. I think they did a really good job with it, though. It's very consistent. I don't see any inconsistencies at all. Signed crown here, pretty nicely done. Good size, good grip on the crown as well. For the case itself, I think the finishing is very nice. It's better than you're going to get from like a steel dive, but not quite as good as a San Martin in my opinion. So, but very happy with the case finishing on this thing. Flipping it over to the case back here, you have a display case back. I'm assuming that's mineral. We'll test it here in just a second. But circular brushing and polishing, simple notches to get a tool in there. Showing off that NH35. Circular brushing on the bottom of the case itself. This bottom edge here, it's not horrible. I've felt worse from Pagani Design. I've definitely felt better from Pagani Design too, though. But yeah, this bottom edge here, it's not too bad. It hasn't bothered me on wrist at all. So for the most part, I am pretty satisfied with the case finishing on this thing. They did a really good job on it. All right, let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So bezel insert is a fully lumed ceramic bezel insert, which is nice to see. It's got a really nice color to it. It's kind of a dark olivey tone. It looks really, really good. I do like it a lot. You kind of have that faux patina lume in there. We'll get to a full lume shot here in just a little bit. The bezel itself, fully stainless steel, brushed and polished on the top edge there, brushed on the sides here. The scalloping is done pretty nicely. There's tons of grip on this thing. As far as the grip goes, I've got no issues with it, and I think it looks pretty good. It's different from the original watch, but still fits the design of this watch in my opinion. The bezel itself, the action, pretty solid on this thing. It is a 120 click unidirectional. Usually on a GMT watch, you like to see a bidirectional 24 click. They went for the cheaper option and just did a simple 120 click. It is what it is. I'm not a fan of that. I would like to see a bidirectional, but yeah, that's what we have to deal with. You can see here in my unboxing, I said that the alignment was spot on. If you roll this thing back, you can see there, it does line up pretty good, but it eventually kind of works its way out of alignment just a hair, just a little bit. Hasn't been enough to bother me, but just something to be aware of. Pagani has always had issues with getting alignments correct on these watches, so yeah, hopefully you guys can get a good one. If you can't, there are ways to fix that, but yeah, I wish they would just take an extra couple seconds and get it aligned perfectly. But the bezel action on this thing, like I said, there's plenty of grip on this. 120 clicks. I'll let you listen to them here as I'm talking. Pretty light sounding, very crisp, I'll say. And pretty noisy, so it's not a quiet bezel. It's very notchy. I can feel all the notches there, so it's got good feedback, I'll say that. And like I said, it does align okay. You can see there is just that kind of spring back effect to it, so I can move it back here, but it kind of springs right back into place. So for the most part, it's fine. It's very consistent all the way around. There's really no back play or anything like that, no bounce, no wobble. Anytime I'm trying to move the bezel or anything, it doesn't move. So pretty happy in that regards. But yeah, it doesn't sound very good, but it does feel pretty good. All right, let's talk about the crystals on this thing. First things first, we'll test the front crystal. You can see it is sapphire. And you can see the back crystal here is just mineral. So we got mineral on the back, which is not a big deal and not a surprise. Sapphire on the front, which is nice to see. It is a double dome sapphire crystal, as you can see here. It follows the curve, like the angle of that bezel, very nicely. It does sit just a little bit proud of it, but I think it looks nice. It's a very subtle dome, but again, it looks really nice. You can see even at the extreme angles there, it has great clarity. Blue inner reflective coating on it. If you saw the pictures outside, you'll know that tree that I was under, it always gives just crazy reflections. It doesn't look that bad in person, I promise you. This is actually one of Pagani's nicer crystals. I'm happy that they're using a double dome with a decent amount of AR. It is a blue AR, but I think it's a pretty subtle AR, or a subtle blue color. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm overall satisfied with the crystal. I have no real complaints with it. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. So dial on this is actually pretty nicely done. It's a matte dial. It does have sunburst. I believe it's gray, but it's really, it's hard to tell. The chapter ring there, kind of its own separate piece with a nice polishing around the outside. I believe that has some green in it. It's, like I said, it's really, really hard to tell. But if you look down here by the 7 area, you can kind of see like a green hue to it, or a green tint to it. I don't think it's just a straight gray. I think there is a little bit of green, even on the dial at times. Most of the time, it just kind of looks like this. It's like a dark gray with a sunburst on it. But at times, you can catch kind of a green hue to it. So it's really interesting. I do like the dial on it. I think it looks good. You've got applied indices at all the hour markers there. Really nicely applied numerals. I think they look excellent. Everything is applied straight as well. Filled to the brim with lume. The lume, unfortunately, is not good. We'll get to that in just a second here. But I do like the little triangles all the way around the dial there. Nicely done, in my opinion. Yeah, there's just lots of nice little details, as you can see. That little polished ring that you can kind of see down here at the 6 o'clock. Really, really really cool. Very subtle, but nicely done, and it adds just another depth to the dial, and I think it looks really good. The handset that they chose on this, it's a nice size handset, gold polished, very simple, no faceting or anything like that, but nicely sized in my opinion. A little bit fatter hour hand, skinny minute hand there. You got your fully orange GMT hand here, reaches right out to the outside. Same thing with the second hand there, reaching right out to the outside. So nice length on the hands. They're not going to have to fix that for version 2. Simple printed logo here at the 12 o'clock. It's not an applied logo, which I kind of wish they would have done on this one, but I think the printed logo looks fine. Orange GMT there, 20 bar, 200 meters, and automatic down at the 6 o'clock. Pretty nicely done. The lume on this watch is terrible, though. I'm going to pop up a Lume Shot here, and you can see it against a couple of the worst watches that I have in my collection. The bezel hangs on better than anything else. But the lume on this watch is just horrible. I had high hopes because they say they use Super Luminova, but if they do use Super Luminova, it is just the lightest coating. The lume is terrible. Do not buy this watch for the lume. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Seiko NH34 automatic GMT. It's 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand every second. It hacks, it hand winds. It's about 40 hours of power reserve. It does everything you need it to do. It's a reliable movement, and it's a fairly accurate movement sometimes. So this one has been running good for me. -3 seconds a day. A little bit of a beat error issue, but for the most part, it's been running just fine. I have no problems with it. I think these movements are great. I love the fact that they're making affordable GMTs available now for everybody. So yeah, really happy with the movement in this thing. It operates just like you would expect it to. You have your 3 o'clock screw down crown here. Nice and smooth screw in and screw out action. You get a decent pop from the NH34. First position is your hand winding. Nice and solid there. The crown, nice and solid as well. Pulling it out to the first position here. This is where you change your date. Obviously, this doesn't have a date on it. I know that's going to be a deal breaker for some people. Most people think you need a date for a GMT watch. So I'm not really sure why they didn't include it in this model, but they didn't. So there is a ghost date position. You roll it forward though, and it changes your GMT hand. It's got nice solid clicks into place. I'm very happy with it. I've got, again, no real complaints with the NH34. It feels the same in all watches. It hacks when you pull it out to the last position. This is where you set your time. Everything functions as it should. Nice solid feedback through the crown. Pushing it in engages the second hand every time, so no issues with that. And again, screw in action is pretty good. It's one of those crowns where when you're screwing it in, you're also winding the movement, so it does feel a little bit gritty, but not gritty in the fact that you're cross threading. So very satisfying with that. I've got no real complaints with the crown on this thing. Yeah, no real complaints with the movement on this one. It's been running great for me. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So the bracelet is 20 millimeters and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. You have brushing and polishing on the top here. You can see these outer little pieces. Those are actually separate little pieces. The inner polished parts are actually integrated into this middle bracelet link. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but that's what they did. It's fine. It doesn't really affect anything. The bracelet is held in together with push pins. I removed 3 for my 7.5-inch wrist. You got female end links here, solid end links. They're fit nice and tight in there, and there's no wiggle. Yeah, I think they integrate pretty nicely into the case, except for this little bit that sticks out. I'm not really sure why they did that, but yeah, that's what they did, and I don't think it looks bad, and I don't really think it affects the wearability of the watch at all. The sides of the links are fully polished here. Working our way to the clasp, you have a brushing on the top, polishing on the side there, 3 levels of micro adjust. The outer shell is just a pressed outer shell, but it's fine. It's not really offensive or sharp or anything like that. It's nice and thin and low profile. I actually think it could be a little bit bigger just to balance out the watch head. The watch does feel a little bit top heavy on the bracelet, but for the most part, it's not a big deal. You got your you got your fold over clasp here with the Pagani Design shield. Open it up, 2 button pushes there. You have solid milled inner parts, and then, like I said, that pressed outer shell. Everything functions as it should, though. So again, I'm not a huge proponent on needing everything to be milled. As long as it opens and closes fine, I've got no real complaints with it. But yeah, the overall, I think the bracelet is fine. You know, this bottom edge is fairly soft. It's a fairly thin bracelet. These are fully articulating links here, so the links kind of fold on top of themselves, so it makes it very comfortable and conforms to the wrist nicely. My only real complaint with it is the finishing on it. The finishing is definitely different than the case finishing. So like I mentioned earlier, the case finishing is a pretty coarse brushing, and then we got a very fine brushing on the bracelet, so it doesn't really match. Obviously, it doesn't match in direction either, but that's just the design decision that they made. But then you also have parts of the bracelet like this right here. You can see a little bit of the polishing on the top surface here. And it's like that in a couple spots. This one right here is also like that. So this, you can barely see it there. It's just a very soft edge. There's no real sharp transition like there is right here. So it's just a little messy on the bracelet finishing. I think they could have matched it a little bit better to the case finishing, and it might have looked a little nicer. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. You see a little bit of inconsistencies with this link right here, the brushing on this link and this link here. It's just not super consistent like the case is. The case is done very nicely. But the bracelet, for the most part, everything is, most of the links are good, but it's just a shame that the ones that you can see, like that one right there, this one up here, that really soft corner there. So yeah, just something to note. Yours may or may not be like that. I'm not really sure, but it's just something to be aware of. So there you go, guys. That is the Pagani Design PD1784, new release for 2024. I like what Pagani is trying to do. They're listening to their customers, and they're putting out obscure homages. So if you want something that looks like this is the only one you can get. As of right now, I think there's one in the works somewhere, but for right now, this is it. So you're going to kind of have to pay a little bit of a premium, I think, for it. But I still think it's a good watch. Obviously, the lume is not great. The bracelet could use a little bit of work, but really, it's not that bad. And I think a lot of this is QC issues. So your mileage may vary when it comes to the bracelet, but yeah, for the most part, you're getting a nice solid stainless steel watch, GMT function with a nice reliable movement, good crystal on a bracelet that doesn't terribly suck. For $150 ish, that's not a bad price at all, in my opinion, for a new design like this. Obviously, the prices are going to creep down, but we don't know when that's going to happen. We don't know how far or how low they're going to go. So yeah, it's just another option to consider when you're looking at a GMT watch. And I think it's a really nice one. I think it looks amazing, and I think the case finishing is excellent as well. Yeah, I like it. I think they could do a couple things here and there to kind of make it better, but I can say the same thing about every watch. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching. Happy New Year. And I will continue putting out reviews for you guys in 2024 because I love it. And I really do appreciate all your support. So thank you guys so much. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.